Hi guys, in this video we are going to review finding divergence and curl of a vector field. So first divergence, notation for divergence would be the del operator dotted with the force. So what that means is that you are really applying the partial derivatives to each component and adding up the results. So the first component, 8xyz, you take the derivative with respect to x plus the second component with respect to y, and then plus the last component with respect to z. So let's do that. Okay, so as far as the first one, think of all the other variables besides x as just numbers, so they're constant multiple. So 8, y, and z are just multiples. So if you have like number x, the derivative is just a number. So this will be 8yz. Plus, now derivative with respect to y. So even though e function looks complicated, this is still a number because you are fixing the other variables. So you're fixing x and you're fixing e to the negative 2z. So those are numbers. So again, this is like number y. So the number is going to stay. Finally, the derivative of the last component with respect to z, because it doesn't have a z, will just be 0. Okay, so that's the divergence. Now let me show you how to find the curl. So the curl is like the cross product. So it's similar to the cross product, but it's really not actual cross product. It consists of partial derivatives. So when you show work, what you have to do is the first row, you put I, j, and k. So those that's similar to what you did for the regular cross product. But the second row would be the first vector, right, in the cross product. But it's not really a vector. This is just partial derivative. So it's more of a symbolic way to just remember how to do this. Okay, so these are partial derivatives. That's the second row. And then the third row consists of the actual force. So this would be 8xyz or field or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's x, y, e to the negative 2z and negative 5xy. Okay, so let's compute that. So first, the ith component is obtained by crossing out the row and the column where I was and computing the corresponding determinant. Now, this right here does not mean that we are multiplying. This means that we are applying the derivative with respect to y of negative 5xy. So this would be negative 5x as I was explaining, because negative 5x is just a number. Okay, now we're subtracting, so this is really not going to be there. We're subtracting the derivative of this way, right? So this way and then that way. So now the derivative of x times y times e to the negative 2z. So when you take the derivative with respect to z, x and y are both numbers. And then e to the negative 2z becomes, so that's just by chain rule, negative 2 comes out in the front and not negative 2z, just negative 2, okay? So this will become negative 2, and then it'll be again xy stays as a multiple, and then the same e to the negative 2z is here. So these two minuses will actually turn into a plus. All right, so that's the ith component. Now remember that the jth component is negative. Jth component is negative, so this is a minus right there. So how do I do that? Well, let me pick another color, some pale color, to cross out the j column and row. And now we're taking the derivative of this guy with respect to x. So that's where negative 5 and y will be numbers. And then subtracting the derivative of this with respect to z. Okay, so that is just 8xy. Finally, the kth component. So that's when we cross out. Let me see if maybe there is another color here. We're gonna cross out this row and this column, right? This row, the first row and the third column. Okay, so that's gonna be here. So that's with respect to x. So that's y e to the negative 2z. And then we subtract this guy with respect to y. So that's 8xz. So that's pretty much it. I mean, you can distribute the minus and maybe just make it a little bit looking a little better. So the ith component would become negative 5x plus 2xy e to the negative 2z. The jth component, because of all the negatives that you distribute, will just become 5y plus 8xy, right? Because this negative gets distributed to all terms. And then the kth component is the way that I got it. And that's it. That's the curl.